Hi there folks, and welcome to our latest feature on 60 years of the synthesizer with computer music. And in this tutorial edition, we're going to be looking at another classic sound, but this time from the 70s. We're calling this popping corn, which of course has an immediate association with the hit by Hot Butter from the 70s called popcorn. For this tutorial, we're going to be using our very own ZebraCM plugin, so open up a copy of your DAW, load in ZebraCM, and let's get started. We're going to begin by initializing our patch on our plugin, and we do this by going to the top of the plugin window, clicking and coming down to Init for Initialize, and clicking on that. So this patch is a relatively simple patch. It only uses a single oscillator for tone generation, so the first thing we need to do is move over to the left-hand side of the plugin, where it says Oscillator 1, and we're going to change our waveform to a square wave. We do this by clicking and holding on the wave icon, and moving it up until we get a 2.00 in the window, which should give us a square wave, and should sound like this. The nature of this particular patch is quite high in pitch, so it would be easier if we could pitch the oscillator up to make the high-pitched tones appear in the middle of the keyboard that we're playing. So an easy way of doing this is to go to the tune pot within the Oscillator 1 section, click and hold with the mouse, and we're going to drag that up to a value of 24. Now you may recall from other tutorials that there are 12 semitones to an octave, hence 24 semitones means that we're 2 octaves higher. Consequently, if we play in the middle of the keyboard now, it's quite high. Another element that really characterizes a sound extends from the filter. So we're going to move over to the filter section now, and we're going to select LP Vintage. Because of the generation of synthesizer that would have been used on this track, the LP Vintage filter gives a particularly appropriate color. Staying within the filter section, we're going to reduce our cutoff amount to a value of 130. And to introduce even more color, we're going to move to the Overdrive control, which is also in the filter section, and we're going to extend that up to a value of 25. Of course, all of these parameters are subject to your own approval, so if you feel you want a little bit more drive, you can apply it, but you will start to hear it distorting slightly. So at the moment we have a sound which is heavily sustained, which is not really what we're after for popcorn. So in order to get that really bitey sound, we need to make a couple of alterations to envelope number 1. Now envelope 1 controls the amplitude, also known as volume, of the sound. So the first thing we want to do is go to the attack phase. Now, contrary to what you might initially think, we want a relatively quick attack, but we actually want to back it off a little bit because the sound sort of swells in, albeit very quickly. So we're going to change the attack pot to a value of 11. We also need to reduce the decay pot substantially as well. So same thing again, we're going to click and hold in the middle of that and drag that down to a value of 16. But we still have the sustain element to the sound in play, and that's because the sustain pot is very much turned up. So we need to reduce this all the way down to a 0. And we also need to reduce our release phase to a 0 as well. So we now have a patch that sounds like this. And I think you would agree that's pretty close to popcorn. When compared to the original track, the actual lead line synth sound is pretty dry, so consequently if you play a line which is very similar to the one in the track, you can hear it doesn't really need a whole lot of reverb. You'll notice we've changed all of the notes. This is for reasons of copyright. If you think you might need a little bit of a helping hand with this sound, in terms of how to play it, we would recommend using something like an arpeggiator. We're working in Logic here. Now Logic is equipped with an arpeggiator, so we're going to open up the arpeggiator, and it now means that when we play a basic chord, we get this kind of effect, which sounds pretty cool. And also, it's worth playing around with the variation and the range so that you can get all sorts of interesting things going on. For an additional effect, why not add something like a tape delay? Really cool effect. So there we go, there's our popping corn sound. Do enjoy.